We ask mother-in-laws, what is the craziest daughter-in-law story that you have? We lived on the other side of the country from them, so we didn't have many visits, 1 or 2 a year. When we visited, all was well. The house was clean, the kids were cared for, etc. She was fun to be around. However, once we left, life went back to quote normal for my son and grandkids. She would say she was going to the store and would not come home for 2 to 4 days. She did drugs. She did not clean anything. My son traveled for business, and when he was gone, she had many different men in the house. He would come home to a trashed house, trashed car, trashed everything. She would put the kids to bed and leave to party. She kept the 2 oldest kids home from school when he traveled. She was too busy sleeping from partying all night to take them to school. As he was making plans to leave her and take the children, she hurt the youngest child and is now in jail awaiting trial. I wish they have never met. My father-in-law passed away this summer, which prompted the family to take out the will for my mother-in-law to get it redone. Well, it's been the same for 30 years, and due to the large age gap between siblings, his oldest sister had a 6-year-old when my husband was born. Well, my mother-in-law looked at the sister and said, "It says you should get custody of your brother. Do you want me to change that or leave that part in?" I was informed that he is now my problem too. Sister-in-law had a very particular way of doing things. So she told my sister to not do anything because sister-in-law has an order. Dishes? Nope, leave it in the sink. Cleaning? No, you're not doing it. So, as my sister-in-law said, my sister did not touch anything cleaning. Then sister-in-law gets upset my sister doesn't clean. Made a PowerPoint presentation on everything my sister did wrong. These presentations would last a minimum of 20 minutes and up to an hour or so. My sister was confused because when she did help, she was told she was doing it wrong and sister-in-law told her to stop. Well, now that she stopped, sister-in-law is mad my sister isn't helping. My sister isn't dirty by any means. She knows how to clean up, it just wasn't being done the way sister-in-law wanted it to be done. My sister had to sit through multiple presentations when she lived with them. My mother always tried with my ex-sister-in-law, but she was an absolute nutcase. Ex-sister-in-law and my brother were separated after she abandoned their son at the daycare center to run away and start a new life. My brother ended up with full custody of my nephew. The straw that broke the camel's back for my mom was when ex-sister-in-law tried to kidnap my nephew and steal my brother's car during a visitation period. My mom was there to witness the whole thing, and she did not secure my nephew, who's 2 years old, into a seat, and she crashed into a light pole in her haste. Luckily, nobody was hurt. My mother never forgave her for that and had to step in for my brother a few times during law proceedings to make sure that ex-sister-in-law never got more than visitation rights. Ex-sister-in-law currently has every other weekend visitation and hasn't seen him in 5 years, but has 4 other children, all by different fathers, trying to tie one down. My daughter-in-law decided after years of manipulating my son to walk out on him and their 2 kids. A few hours later, she changes her mind and bombards him with all kind of crap for a week. And then she gains access to the house when he's out and changes the locks, causing him and their 2 young kids to be homeless. She sucks. My mother-in-law had a very rocky relationship with one of her daughters-in-law. There are a few of us, and this one time, this particular daughter-in-law, with the rocky relationship, had started, quote, being nice to our mother-in-law by going out to lunch with her, giving her advice on how to change annoying aspects of her personality. This lasted a couple of months. Finally, the daughter-in-law had an absolute rage session and started screaming at the mother-in-law, saying how she could just no longer be part of this ruse, and that all her attempts at being friendly and trying to change the mother-in-law's personality was pointless, because the mother-in-law was simply too stupid. To this day, they don't get along, and family gatherings are always super awkward. This, of course, is from my point of view, so I can't say for certain what was actually going on in either of their heads, but there you have it. This happened to a friend. Her brother married this girl who was a college friend. Very happy to have a baby girl. Suddenly, her father passed away, so her mother went to stay with son and daughter-in-law. At first, she was okay, but after like a month, daughter-in-law started to lock the fridge. In India, fridges come with internal locks and pantry doors. She started cutting down mother-in-law's food. When my friend came to know about this, we went to her brother's place, packed her mom's stuff, and brought her back to my friend's house. Scary lady, that daughter-in-law. Brother did not say crap to his wife either. So, not a mother-in-law story, but one of my mom's friends. Her son was on track to become an engineer, and then he met this girl. She was a teacher and wanted to be a, quote, full-time mother. So he ended up dropping out of his degree, and she told him, well, she got pregnant. He works a dead-end job now, and she's demanding that she cuts him off from all of his family. She's very anti-5G and is totally consumed with every conspiracy theory going. He no longer talks to his mother or any of his family. I grew up with him, and he always has such a level-headed, confident guy. And now his Facebook feed's full of all this nonsense. Baby pictures or messages between him and his now wife about how they're going to have the best family ever. The mother of the guy respects his wishes, but whenever my mom mentions her, she always says that she feels like she lost her son. It's a bit heartbreaking, to be honest. Neighbor. Not myself, as I'm a guy. My neighbor's jovial. New grandbaby pictures, more pictures, constantly talking about how hard her daughter-in-law's trying to be a good mother. Is stressed, it's her first baby, so she's thinking about flying to help take care of some of the load of pressure. Daughter-in-law was initially receptive, exhausted, happy to have somebody help, possibly even some alone time to decompress. So, about 2 months after the baby was born, after securing time off work, she flies out to help. Flies back 2 weeks later very unhappy. Wife and I don't broach anything, but one day she just lets loose. Grandma was taking baby out and about, fresh air, and gives the mom some me time. She was planning on staying away for a few hours, but found out she forgot the baby wipes in the bathroom at home after the baby made a mess. She arrives back and walks inside to hear her daughter-in-law screaming, "Oh my gosh!" Yeah, with many more explicits after that. All involved with her screaming, "Yes, Mike." Well, for the record, her son's name isn't Mike. After calling her son at work, there was a pause as he listens and wrangled 2 female friends. Much gnashing of teeth ensued when he got home 2 hours early, with a female friend in tow, recording, and her, quote, boyfriend, trying to get down the streets half-dressed. Mother-in-law pulls up to see her daughter-in-law wrapped in a blanket screaming at him that it wasn't what it looked like. Blah, blah, blah. Mother-in-law says son should get a paternity test, baby possibly not even his. Now, a not-so-happy mother-in-law. Obviously there was a divorce, but I don't know how that went, and I'm not about to ask. I'm gonna speak for my aunt. My cousin's a party guy. He married a party girl. I met her the day of my grandfather's funeral. She was dressed like Betty Boop. Too much makeup, balloon-sized fake boobies and a sheer. Black tube dress stretched too far for the imagination. She was sitting at my grandparents' table as I walked bleary-eyed into the kitchen for a bowl of cereal. Half awake, I barely stopped myself from exclaiming, "What the duck?" After the funeral, we held a sort of Irish wake at my uncle's house, whereupon she tried to hook up with every single male cousin, one by one asking them to do shots with her. I avoided her, so I was last. She got to me when I was having a beer in the driveway with 2 other cousins, ones that she'd already tried with. She went to me and my more attractive cousin-in-law first. He shot her down instantly with, quote, "The mother of my newborn child is inside." I like him. I'm less assertive with it, so I tried the, "If you ignore bullies, they'll get bored and leave you alone." She tried grinding up and down my front side. I still ignored her and hoped she would just leave me alone. She moved around and tried to slither up and down my back. I pretended she wasn't even there. So she slithered down my back one last time. And then she bit my butt. I hopped across the driveway doing the goofy yell. I honestly don't remember what happened after that. Somehow she left, and I had a dental impression and a purple bruise on my butt cheek the next morning. Let me remind you, this was my grandfather's funeral. I'm told that the morning of the wedding, my aunt offered to pay for 100% of the wedding if he wanted to back out. For me, a mother-in-law is kind of a reverse heartbreak because I loved my daughter-in-law and we got on very well. She's from a semi-abusive background and at first had issues with drugs, but dealt with it and became an excellent mother. Well, now they're separated at her instigation. Son's devastated, and although I don't believe in taking sides, it's hard to go past her decision to break up the family because that she has to, quote, find herself. I'm just not coping as we've been very close extended family. Not a matter of abuse, addiction, cheating, or even close. Not my story, but a friend of the family had recently divorced her husband on sexual abuse charges and put him on trial. During the trial, the mother-in-law came into the bathroom while she was having a panic attack and told her she was explicit wording who ruined her son and that this was entirely her fault, that her and her son were going to take her daughter from her because she wasn't fit to be a mother, and that she was going to raise her like she was her daughter and her son was the father. Then she trapped her in the bathroom like that, screaming at her until the lawyer came to rescue her. My mother-in-law is my second mom, an absolutely amazing person. My husband and I had our first child the day after my 19th birthday, and on her 40th birthday. So the three of us share birthdays back to back. She helped us raise our son and honestly helped us become the adults we needed to be in order to be great parents. We had just celebrated our daughter's first birthday. Our son is almost 8 years old now. She was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer about a year and a half ago. She's one of the strongest women I've ever met. She's the most wonderful, accepting, non-judgmental, kind, helpful mother-in-law I could ever ask for. My son and her have an incredible bond. She raised an amazing man who's my soulmate. Our daughter adores her, and she means so much to me. She's one of my best friends. I keep holding on to hope that we're going to wake up one morning to a phone call from the doctor, saying they have the answer and know what to do. I can't even begin to imagine our lives without her. She's the glue that holds so much together, and I'm seriously so thankful to have her in my life. Not the mother-in-law, but my brother's ex-wife. She instigated a fight with him over the phone, recorded him once she got him mad, and reported him to police. She then told him exactly where to find him as he was employed as a high school teacher at the time. She stopped making payments on the house after she got him out, and eventually it was repossessed. She starts cavorting around with our younger brother and dated him for like 2 years after they divorced. We think that they've been running around behind his back for at least 3 years beforehand. And personally, I'm pretty sure she groomed him from a young 16-year-old dude. And here's the real kicker. She was running around with our younger brother, mostly at her mom's house. Just a completely disgusting, sociopathic monster. I've told my brother if he needs her tires slashed, so she misses a court date, I'm in. My sister-in-law, holy crap. My mom not flipping her crap on her has always amazed me. My sister-in-law does everything in her power to be miserable about my mom. My mom sells her and my brother a truck instead of giving it. Horrible person. My mom gave her boyfriend tamales on a real plate one Christmas instead of paper like the rest of us. My brother's family has colds. My mom doesn't drop everything to get them popsicles, soup, etc. She has the audacity to wait a little bit to make them get a care package. Monster. She gets mad texts my mom and calls my mom a piece of crap. My brother tried to keep the peace, but it just rarely happened. I'll never understand why she dislikes my mother so much. My mom isn't perfect, but my sister-in-law is insane. My brother passed away last April, and my sister-in-law made it a little weird and hurt my mother. But that's a whole different post. I'm the daughter-in-law. I struggle with maternal relationships due to trauma from my mother at a young age until adulthood. I'm flaky with communications, and sometimes I won't talk to her for a while because I just forget. But I also helped her realize she, her son, and a few of her grandchildren are probably on the spectrum just like me. They're all at various stages of diagnosis and awareness. It's been healing for them, but I'm still the awkward daughter-in-law who has no clue how to connect with people. She accepts me, and she's more of a mom than I've ever had. I'm just so thankful, but I don't know how to tell her. I'm apparently the crazy daughter-in-law. One of our kids asked to change pronouns and live as a girl, which we fully support. It wasn't a surprise to us, we've seen it coming for a long time, and had gone so far as to let some family members know that it seemed like our child was on that path. Well, my father-in-law told my husband that he thought I was forcing our child to do this because of, quote, how much I hate men. At which point, we decided that our children would no longer be going to their house unsupervised, because we weren't going to subject them to the attitude and hatred. And then COVID hit, which meant they could not really see the kids at all anyways. Mother-in-law threw a fit about how unfair all this was to her. They've both decided I hate them. I have very little sympathy for the corner they've backed themselves into. When they apologize and commit to supporting their granddaughter, then we can talk about reforming a relationship. My brother's mother-in-law cut her own daughter and him out of all contact after Trump lost. I know a fact that they cited as the reason, and it was super petty. Like she said, I'm removing all socialist people from Facebook. I was kinda thinking, dude, that's your daughter though. I guess they have since sort of reconnected. I'm writing on behalf of my own mother. My sister-in-law is an obnoxious cow. She hasn't worked in 10 years, while my brother works 60 hours a week minimum. Even though she gets an allowance for being a stay-at-home mom, that goes to cigarettes and, until recently, a crapload of marijuana. My brother went years without a birthday, Christmas, Father's Day card, or gift from her. Like, not even a card. So, my mom used to come down, close for a week at a time whenever my sister-in-law was unwell. Last year, my mom bought my brothers a big, expensive, kick-butt birthday present. He's worth it. He always tries to show him that he's worth it. Well, Miss Sister-in-law chucked a wobbly. You need to stop buying him crap, and you and me will be having bad words out the front door. My mom looked dead at her and said, you want to beat me up because I treat your husband better than you? That's just one story. I'm the daughter-in-law, in my mother-in-law's point of view. I'm the evil snake that's ruining her family and its values. I'm manipulating her son into a man that rejects his family and won't let them into our lives. My husband suddenly has these boundaries and secrets. He doesn't want to be involved in anything with his family and refuses to invite them over to see our children. I must be changing him and turning him against them. It's all my fault. But the reality is this. My mother-in-law is a huge boundary stomper and doesn't have basic respect for us. We have a very simple boundary, and she has fits about them because she can't do whatever she pleases when she wants to. For goodness sake, she literally complained about how she has to, quote, make an appointment to come over to our house instead of just popping by whenever she felt like it. She expects my husband to be her personal free labor, and her idea of family is her being heavily involved in every aspect of my and my husband's life. Her increasing ridiculousness just keeps pushing my husband further away from her with each issue that she blows up. So yeah, I'm a horrible daughter-in-law in my mother-in-law's eyes, but I'm honestly neutral about it. I don't need or want her approval. Not a daughter-in-law yet, my stepson's girlfriend and mother of my 2 grandbabies. But I'm 19 years younger than my husband, but 12 years older than my stepson. She thinks I want to sleep with my stepson. Never gave her any reason to think this, by the way, and I do not want to. She keeps the babies from us, and rarely we get to see them unless, of course, she has a circumstance that we're her only option for a babysitter. We've tried very hard to have a good relationship, but she just hates me. I once even stopped by their house to visit. She was cordial, but my stepson got an earful when he got home from work. Just sad all around. She doesn't want us in their life. My mother-in-law refused to even sit in the same room as me from the very start, let alone meet me. Because, well, I'm white. I got tattoos, and I did not have a college degree. I'm still successful with great salary, and because I've, quote, been in a relationship before so we won't treasure my son. Actually, it was because she wanted her son's money and affection all to herself. Well, her son and I aren't together anymore, and you can have him.